In one-line exchange, Sarah Spitz, she is a producer for National Public Radio. She wrote that she would, quote, laugh loudly like a maniac and watch his eyes bug out if she ever encountered Rush Limbaugh writhing in torment while having a heart attack. In boasting that she would gleefully watch a man die in front of her eyes, Spitz seemed to shock even herself. She said, I never knew I had this much hate in me, but he deserves it. Oh, inclusive, tolerant, and loving, unless, you know, they deserve your hatred. I see. Spitz's hatred for Limbaugh seems shocking, even imbalanced. But it's not. No, it can't be. It's on publicly funded NPR, National Public Radio. You know, the voice you can trust. On Journalists, where conservatives are regarded not as opponents, but as enemies, it barely raised an eyebrow, saying that she'd like to see him die. But that's no big deal. Last summer, during the healthcare debate, the big topic on Journalist was whether the town hall protesters were garden variety fascists or actual Nazis. Oh, I can't decide either. While Nancy Pelosi was crying about the violence at the Tea Parties, journalists at Journalist were saying this, quote, you know, at the risk of violating Godwin's law, is anyone starting to see parallels here between the teabaggers and their tactics and the rise of the brown shirts? Brown shirts. Now it's getting violent. Reminds me of the beer hall fracases of the 1920s. Hey, where was it getting violent exactly? Because I don't remember that violence. There was no violence from the town hallers. No. Oh, SEIU, sure. But that's not who she was talking about. Has she ever been to a Tea Party rally? Yet still talk to brown shirts, brown shirts, brown shirts. You're not comparing things to Nazis, are you? Surprising, Journalist did have some things to say about Fox News. When Harold Raines charged that the network had conservative bias, the members of Journalist discussed whether the federal government should shut the channel down. Whoa, that sounds almost like the First Amendment. Pete all over. Yeah. Quote, I am genuinely scared of Fox. It shows you that a genuinely shameless and unethical media organization cannot be controlled, amen, brother, by any form of peer pressure or self-regulation, nor can it be successfully cold-shouldered or ostracized in order to even have a semblance of control. You need a tough legal framework. Well, that's a good thing they're here protecting the Constitution, huh? And nor, Daniel, and nor? Nor? And nor? Really? Did they teach you that at grammar at your progressive British university? Very nice. Plus, two, I digress. The discussion continued. Michael Scherer of Time magazine agrees. He says it's Fox's job to, quote, build a tribal identity, not a news organization. You can't hurt Fox by saying it gets it wrong. They just use the criticism to deepen the tribal identity. Oh, yes. I am Glenn, tribe of Beck. How? It strikes me that there sure isn't a tribal identity at Journalist. No, not at all. Except, and I'll show you the tribe from which this breed of journalists has descended. Oh, I hate to fall into Godwin's law, but we are going to have to speak of eugenics next, and nor other things. I know there is a perception in this audience that the mainstream media has a liberal bias, but now, it may be just the root beer speaking here, but it is not true. In fact, the media is engaged in open propaganda for this administration. Not merely biased. What are you, nuts? They're following a proud heritage of propagandists before them that began, as you might expect if you are a regular watcher of this show, around the time of, oh, I don't know what's his name, Woodrow Wilson. One of Wilson's close advisors was this guy, Walter Lippmann. Oh, he's a journalist who considered himself an icon among the liberal media, and the liberal media agrees. His methods and ideas are taught in college to our journalism students to this day. You should read some of his books. I wonder if the people in college that love him so much have actually read, oh, I don't know, this is an original, this one is Phantom Public. You should read it. Spooky. But what they teach in college is public opinion. These are the things that these journalists are actually taught is a good thing. Quote, news and truth are not the same thing. And, quote, the common interests very largely elude public opinion entirely and can be managed only by a specialized class of personal interests that reach beyond the locality. In other words, you're just too stupid. You don't know what's best for you, so we need a group of guys like this. A lead man who's got a big head and they can explain everything and what's being done for our own good. Thank you very much. In fact, he believed that most citizens, and you're going to love this, quote, are mentally children. Did you say that? Or barbarians. I can't imagine why the journalists don't just think this guy is awful. Things are starting to make sense now, aren't they, about why you see journalists report the things that they do and treat the American people the way they do. Yes, they needed to be guided by intellectuals such as Walter Lippmann. That theme is represented these days with people like Bill Maher. Remember last year when he said Obama needed to just get health care passed. Watch.
He just needs to drag them to it. Like I just said, they're stupid.
See? Now, I have a whole lot more to tell you about Woodrow Wilson and his propaganda friends who are seemingly back again today. Next. Some days I get kind of down and I have to look at that newspaper just to cheer myself up. Woodrow Wilson, still dead. We're talking about propaganda around the time of Woodrow Wilson to try to explain what's happening with our press today. I want to introduce you to another guy. This guy. This guy is great. Herbert Croly. He co-founded the New Republic magazine with this guy, Walter Lippmann. Remember this guy? They wrote a famous new progressive book, The Promise of American Life. According to Jonah Goldberg, Crowley's book contains a standard checklist of fascist characteristics, such as the need to mobilize society, a call for spiritual rebirth, the need for great revolutionary leaders, a reliance on manufactured unifying national myths. That doesn't sound good. Contempt for parliamentary democracy, non-Marxist socialism, nationalism, and a spiritual calling for military expansion, and a need to make politics into a religion, and hostility towards the individual. Boy, you don't see any similarities in the media today, do you? No. And then you have this guy, Colonel House. This is the genius who came up with the administrators. We call them czars now. When Wilson couldn't get all of these crazy ideas done, they came up with the idea of the Council of Foreign Relations. Now, you don't have to go into conspiracy rabbit holes on this one. No, you don't. It's all out in the open. You can look all this stuff up. There's no conspiracy here at all. What the idea was join the academics and the press together. See, the really smart people would explain it to the elite in the press. You know, this guy would explain it to this guy, and then this guy would explain it to you. You see? That way, you nincompoops wouldn't have to worry about it. That's what they were doing under Woodrow Wilson, and that's what's happening today. It leads this press right where we are today, in journalists. There's a writer from The Guardian. He was speaking about why the media should cover up the Reverend Wright story during Obama's 2008 presidential campaign. He said at the time, quote, "Listen, folks, in my opinion, we have to do all we can to kill ABC and this idiocy in whatever venues we have. This isn't about defending Obama. Oh, no. This is about how the mainstream media kills any chance of discourse that actually serves the people." Oh, I'm glad you're there to take care of me, big brother who I didn't elect. You see, you are either with them or against them. Me? I stand proudly against them. But they're now joined by a very strong government.